The purpose of this video is to illustrate a difference between being rich versus being wealthy. For this video, rich will be correlating to the amount a person has or gets paid. The amount of money paid will be $173,000. Wealthy will be correlating to the expected amount of time the current amount of money a person has would last. There is no set amount of money that will make a person wealthy. Trying to raise your pay to $173,000 could take a very long time. However, becoming wealthy is quicker to achieve. A person can become more wealthy by changing his wants or living conditions. Looking on dictionary.com, we are going to look up the meaning of rich and wealthy. We see rich is having wealth or great possessions, abundantly supplied with resources, means, or funds. Wealthy. Wealthy means having great wealth, rich, affluent. Those really do not tell us any difference between the words. Wealthy is used to define rich. Wealth is used to define both rich and wealthy. So let's look up wealth. A great quantity or store of money, valuable possessions, properties, or other riches. Yes, so everything boils down to having a great quantity of money. The last thing left to do is let's look up great. Unusually or comparatively large in size or dimensions, and large in number, numerous. We can see that great is a subjective word, seeming how it is defined with comparatively. So if we are looking for a muscle car, you would choose something with more horsepower. That will make one car greater than another car that has less horsepower, even though they have the same function, transportation. Another comparison is when someone is young, $10 is a lot of money, and when the person gets older, $10 is not so much. And of course, this is borrowing inflation. That shows when you have experience or different set of wants or needs, something that was once seen as great is no longer great. The inverse of the outcome is true too. Based on experience or different set of wants or needs, something that was once not great can become great. For this video, rich will be correlating to the amount a person has or get paid. Wealthy will be correlating to the expected amount of time the current amount of money a person has would last. Looking at Investopedia, we see the top 10% of 2020 average annual wages is $173,000. The top 10% or close to seems good enough to be defined as rich for this video. For wealthy, it is a bit more complex. Even if someone has 1 month of savings, that person is wealthy and can live 1 month without worries. However, somebody with more months of savings is more wealthy than another. Rich is an absolute concept, while wealthy is a relative concept. These are tables from the Bureau of Labor Statistics of the annual mean wage of computer and information systems managers in different industries. We see that the mean annual wage is just $10K less than the rich. Between the upper 50% and the 75% lays the rich. In an alternate universe, there is another version of you named Rich. Rich just got a position as a manager making $180K annually. That means Rich makes $15K per month. Since Rich makes so much money, he deserves a lot of good things. He buys himself a condo overlooking the city. No more frozen vegetables and cold cuts for him. He can eat at high-end restaurants several times a week. He just got himself a luxury car and a bigger insurance bill that he knows he can afford. He can put everything on credit because he knows he's good for it. All of his expenses comes out to just $10K monthly. Living as an adult, he thinks. At the end of the month, he has $5K to save, more than what some lonely peasants even make. He knows he is set and thinking of even more things to buy in the future. After 3 months, this guy got $15K in the bank. On the other side of the work spectrum, these tables are the healthcare support occupations, which the median wage is $33K. Again, we are going to use a more easily workable number, $36K. This number is 3 times greater than a poverty line. This should be an appropriate pay for a recent graduate. Imagine yourself making $36K, only $3K a month. This version of you is called wealthy. How are you going to survive off that? Knowing you are going to have to struggle, you get roommates to cut your housing costs. No more eating out for you, it's just another meal of ramen noodles, frozen vegetables, and hot dogs again. At least you don't have to worry about the cost of a car, like a note, maintenance, gas, and insurance, because you have no car and you have to ride the bus. You don't have much credit since it's wage-based. However, this is good. You spend only what you need anyway. With your frugal living, you are spending about $1K a month. After 3 months, you get $6K in the bank. Well, at the end of the 3rd month, both you guys get called into the boss's office and are told, you are fired. For Rich, this means that he has a month and a half of savings to keep him afloat. Depending on the working climate or the type of position Rich is looking for, which is less than $500,000 nationwide, it could take him a while before he finds another job paying him that much. For Wealthy, he has 6 months of time before needing another job. In that troubling time, Rich would have a more stressful time trying to find a job since he's on a time crunch. Wealthy will have less stress and have enough time to find whatever new job he qualifies for. Hopefully, he'll be able to find a higher paying job since he has more time to hold out. When I was able to move out on my own the first time, I used to be able to save about 50% of my pay from my first job. Later, I had a second temporary job in which I was able to save 100% from. At some point, I had enough money to survive for slightly over a year in the bank. Now, that is way too much money to have in a bank. Just letting it sit there, you will lose to inflation. And normally, a person would need just about 3 to 6 months. Now, here we see that this is how the word great is subjective. The savings is depending on your own situation. For someone, they might need only 3 months, and another person may need even more than 3 months. We see for Rich, 15K was not great. It only gave him 1 month and a half of stability. Wealthy's 6K was great for him. It gave him 6 months of stability. So what was the point of this? It was to illustrate that little steps and sacrifices can make you wealthy. You would have to lower your expenses and live without some things to be able to lower your worries about having money. There are a lot of people that don't want any type of sacrifice, like spending less or living without all the shinies they see others have, or having roommates, which would lower their housing costs. Some just get jealous that someone else have money and they want that other person's money. They don't care what the other person had to go through to get the money. Some live in a fantasy that money just magically appeared for some people and they don't work, or those other people had to take it from others. And for instance, Jeff Bezos. Does anyone care that he had to take Amazon from being an online bookstore, something that was in a dying industry at the time, to being a leading competing software company now? The people that wants to tax the rich or say pay your fair share never say what is someone's fair share of when they have to work through the night for weeks. What is the fair share of the sacrifices that were done throughout the years prior to finally getting a payoff of the work that was put in? Stay focused getting your finances in a place you want it. Others will try and take what you work for, but you will not be able to move or change your circumstances without having money. You don't have to be rich to have financial freedom. Just have control over your spending. With having control, the amount of money you have can become great enough to live off on. However, if you lose control of your spending, rest of your finances will spiral out of control and your savings will just be nothing.